What is up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you doing? I am Jason Heine from the EMU Review. Thanks again for hanging out with me. So I'm taking it back. Yes, I am taking it back to the roots of gaming, friends. I'm taking it back to 1986, and I'm going to talk about one of the games that just remains a classic title all the way around for many, many reasons. I'm going to get pretty in-depth here with the reasonings behind it, a little bit of the story, some of the gameplay, and I'm going to show you multiple ports of this. You guys, I am talking about the infamous Bobble. Now, whether it be the easy to learn or pick up and play type of gameplay, we really have something special here. Bobble is that type of game that I think every gamer in general has at least heard of. If you haven't played it, don't feel too bad, but it was ported to just about every single console in that generation. Now, in the spirit of the EMU Review, you guys know how I do reviews. I'm not going to show you just a little game footage here and talk about it. I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to get very in-depth with this because Bobble is a part of our history and part of our gaming heritage that I think everyone needs to know about. So I'm going to show you footage from the original arcade, Windows DOS, NES, Game Gear, Master System, Game Boy Advance, and even a really rare game called Rainbow Island: The Story of Bobble 2, which was an exclusive to PC, DOS, Saturn, and PlayStation 1. So friends, without further ado, get your drinks, get your popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy this review of Bobble. Originally released by Taito and published by Taito and Romstar, this was an arcade game that hit the floors in 1986. Story's quite simple. You're a couple of bubble-breathing, floaty dragons that have to jump around, capture their enemies by blowing bubbles onto them. The enemies then get trapped within the bubble, and you just basically jump on them. And they turn into fruit, or ice cream, or corn dogs, or martini glasses. There's many, many different things they can turn into. It's very interesting. I can only wish in real life that things like that really did happen. I love to go around and kick some rocks, or smash a tree, or, do anything, and they turn into some nice, yummy fruit. And as you can see, and more likely guess, the objective of the game is just to eliminate every enemy, and then you progress onto the next level. There are 100 total levels, every level getting a bit harder as you progress. And at the end of each level, once you have all the enemies but one left, he turns red and then becomes quote-unquote angry. And then he comes and tries to attack you and he goes AWOL, basically. And now this is the first port of the game, well, the original port here that I'm showing you. And keep close ear to the music. I'm telling you, once we move on to the other games, you'll definitely notice, but in the arcade version has the best music. Well, I don't know, the Game Boy Advance is actually pretty cool, I'll show you that. But I just love the bass line. Come on, that is the best. That is like 80s funky, nasty, stanky bass, and I absolutely love it. Where do I find that keyboard, huh? Bobble was just a massive success in the arcades. So much, in fact, that Taito decided to go and port this to so many consoles. They went crazy with porting. And again, I think it's because the game is very simple, easy to render, there's not a whole lot to it. And you can just port this thing on the lowest end machine you can find. And at the time, all these machines were capable of running this game. Here's the official list, you guys. This game was ported to the Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Amiga, Atari ST, MSX, CPC, Sharp 68000, PC, of course, MS-DOS in 1989, and in 1996, the Apple II computer, Sega Master System, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS, the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, Nintendo Entertainment System, Famicom, Game Gear, mobile phone, evidently for Sprint, and a few of the TI series from Texas Instrument calculators. And of course, the Ultracades. This was Taito's arcade classics. And a little interesting tidbit here. I guess in 1996, Taito announced that they had lost the original source code to the game. Evidently, Probe Entertainment was in charge of porting it to the home consoles. So what Taito did was sent them a Bobble arcade PCB board, arcade board, so they could play the original game and reproduce the mechanics as it was in the original. This led to the release of Bobble, also featuring Rainbow Islands for the Saturn, PS1, and MS-DOS in 1996 that I will show you a little bit later. But this game did get ported to about every home console you can think of, and I've got some more to show you here. So how about we jump right into the Sega Master System? Bubble Bobble was released in 1992 for this console under the arcade genre of games. And to tell you the truth, this is a fantastic port. And when you think about it, I mean, how bad can it really be? You know what I mean? This game was easy to reproduce. I think really the only issues that a lot of these consoles had was with the music. But other than that, the graphics, the gameplay, everything else was pretty damn near perfect. The gameplay is just as you would expect. Controls are nice and tight. Music's pretty good as well. It is missing that funky bass line that I love. But other than that, this is definitely highly recommended. If you do have a Master System and you are interested in this game, absolutely, this is a must-have title for this console. This is a great one. All right, so moving on, I think I want to talk about the NES port now. The one for Nintendo, I think, is the most well-known, just in my book. I know that this game was hugely successful on this platform, and a lot of people that I know have this and had played this back in the day. And then when looking at it in general, this is a fantastic port as well. Gameplay is great. I mean, what is there to say, really, there's a little bit of dropout here and there. Some textures are, disappearing here and there. That's common on these older consoles when you get too many things on the screen at once. I will say that I think the pacing in this port is a bit slower than the rest. Everything feels just to kind of move a little bit slower, and then the transitions onto the next level, there's just a slight hiccup there. Flash of the screen, down we go. Getting real technical here, but this is a wonderful game and definitely still worth quite a bit of money. You can find it around, on the intranets, but you're still going to pay a pretty penny to get a hold of them. So all in all, fantastic port of Bubble Bobble here on the Nintendo. And I started out showing you the first two that I believe majority of the people in the world have played, the Master System and the NES. But have you played one on the Game Gear? I decided to go ahead and break out a bit of this to show you guys. Again, just another wonderful port of the game. I think this is a classic game for the Game Gear here. Very smooth, works really nice. As you notice, of course, because the screen is a bit smaller than a normal TV, they had to condense the levels. So everything is kind of scaled down a bit smaller here. But that's really no big deal at all. It does play great on the Game Gear and a highly enjoyable port. So I just wanted to show everyone in case they hadn't seen it on the Game Gear. Highly recommended. You see my little dude there freaking out. From what I'm reading here, they have names. Evidently it's Bub and Bob, standing for Bubby and Bobby. And I guess there's another character in there named Betty or Patty, something or rather like that. So Bub and Bob bouncing around all over the place. And just when you think you've seen it all, I bust out another gem from the vault here. This is Bubble Bobble for Windows MS-DOS, released in 1989 by Taito. And look at this amazing little quick splash screen they give us here. Look at this. I'm going to go ahead and pause it here just so you can see. Look at that. Double Dragon, Operation Wolf. Look at that. And what's funny about this picture is that that's exactly how the arcades are. Or at least that's how they were back in the day. Kind of a dark lit, games all close together. Smelled a bit like B.O., wet teenager. You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, majority of you know what I'm talking about. So that picture really captures everything that was beautiful about the arcades. Very nice. But let's go ahead and continue on. Okay, so the music's a little, how would you say, god-awful. Look at that. No octaves or anything. It's just single notes. That's pretty bad. Come on, the PC, the MS-DOS, really? Could have done better than that. Okay, so I'm hitting like every button on my keyboard here. Nothing is working. I'm just being honest with you. Nothing is registering here. So let's see if I can. Oh, okay, there we go. Splash screen now. Well, the music's there. In all of its single note glory. Is this having to load or something? What's happening here? This can drive me nuts. Where's my dude? Where's Bub? Where's Bob? You've got to be kidding me. Now, I know from playing the other ones, he has to go to the very bottom of the screen. Okay, there's most definitely something wrong with this. I can't take it. I'm sorry, I have to rage quit. I gotta Control-Alt-Delete this thing. Absolutely not. Gosh, moving on. Alright, so you guys remember earlier on in the review, I was talking about a game called Rainbow Islands. The story of Bubble Bobble 2. I'd never played this game, and I'm really interested to get involved with it because I'm very curious about the story of Bubble Bobble 2. I want to know how it all came to be. So evidently, Acclaim, Probe Entertainment, and Taito put this game together in 1996 for PS1, Sega Saturn, and PC MS-DOS. We're looking at the MS-DOS port right here. So obviously, we have Bubble Bobble, Rainbow Islands, and Rainbow Islands Enhanced. Let's jump in the original one here, see what we got. Looks like we got a little mini-map there, exploring the worlds. So I never played this before at all, so bear with me here. But it looks like we have, this little kid running around being able to shoot or throw rainbows and walk on them. But if you jump on them, they get destroyed. So you can kind of use them as a platform, I guess. It's kind of weird. Okay, goal in. Goal in. I don't know what that means. Like, just goal would be cool. So I don't really get this at all. I mean, the only relevance that I see here is that kind of, it's a platforming game and has crazy fruit to collect. But other than that, I don't see any resemblance to Bubble Bobble whatsoever. This is really weird. Maybe that's why I never heard of it. It just was kind of a weird game. The dude sure does have a jump on him. He can jump like crazy. Not a bad game. There's definitely some entertainment there for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the enhanced one. I'm curious what the enhanced one has to offer. Everything appears to be the same. The text looks like it's different colored. Okay. There we can definitely tell the enhancements here. The game looks completely different as the graphics have all been reworked. Looks like there's now depth. The textures now have lots of colors. There's clouds in the background there, smiley clouds. Just all around it has a graphics update is what this is. The game doesn't have any music, so that's it, really. There you are, and he just gets to finish it all off, nom 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 and all that stuff. Look at martinis and burgers and candy and ice cream. No wonder that dude's a bit porky, huh? They're just feeding him all kinds of food every level. And to round out the review of Bubble Bobble, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys Bubble Bobble on the Game Boy Advance. Now, they did different ports for Game Boy Color, but I'm going to show you the Game Boy Advance because, you know what, I really enjoy the music. It has this excellent breakdown of the music that we all know and love. Well, except for the PC version of it, right? Am I right? So the Game Boy Advance port here, we're greeted to a nice little intro movie here. I just love it. It's showing all the fruit and candy in the background there. And as you guys can hear, it has that funky stank bass that I love so much. So it's called Bubble Bobble Old and New. Released in September of 2004, this game only retailed for $17.99. It's not much. Of course, getting right in here to the game, you see you have a couple different options. You can play Bubble Bobble Old or Bubble Bobble New. Let's go ahead and check out the Old, just because I'm curious of what it looks like on the Game Boy Advance. Everything looks pretty nice. Real comparable here to the arcade port, and the music even shows that too. Of course, the Game Boy Advance being able to play, actual music like that. Whole songs, rather. Let's go ahead and move on here to Bubble Bobble New. Let's see what this is all about. This says, this is a revised version. We recommend this version if you're new to it. That's just hilarious. It's just the weirdest thing. Wouldn't you think you'd want to play with the original if you're new to it? I don't know, whatever. All right, so here we go. Here we have this epicness intro, as always. And you can see right off the bat here that it has, nice fast pacing. Enemies are a bit different. The levels look great. They have some depth and different textures. And there's a little chitter-chatter there from Bub or Bob, whichever one he is, when he gets the candy or fruit. It's like, yeah, loves it. Yummy. Listen to that guy. I have no idea what he says. But nevertheless, it's a nice little port here, a nice little, remake. It'd be comparable to like an HD remix in today's world, right? HD remake. Oh, here's my favorite part. Listen to this breakdown. Love it. That's excellent right there. So definitely on the Game Boy Advance, I'm sure you can pick this up for just dollars. So recommended, if you have a Game Boy Advance and you're interested in Bubble Bobble, if this is the only platform you have an option there, friends. You can go ahead and pick this up. So that's it for me, you guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this review of Bubble Bobble. Very in-depth here. I wanted to get, you know how I do. I don't want to just do a little bit on these games. I want to show you guys the background, backstory. Hopefully you learn a little something and take some away from it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Jason Heine from the EMU Review. Thanks for hanging out with me. We will talk to you later. I'll just be outside blowing bubbles. Peace out.